Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Colleen and I'm happy that you're with me here today. Today I am working out of my old ratty book. You guys that have been following along for a while will recognize I promise myself that one of these days I will fix this book properly. So today I've taken out the page for Spiced Ginger Mounds. These are a wonderful cookie for the holiday season and also for hostess gifts and gift giving and for cookie exchanges or cookie swaps. And I thought we could talk a little bit about how you prepare for a cookie exchange and just some of the details about it. And we're not going to get too far into it, but I thought I might as well be talking while I'm making these. So I will gather up the ingredients and we'll get back to it. But before we do that, I just wanted to point out that this recipe makes 6 dozen cookies. So I have the half measures over here to make just 3 dozen cookies. If you're going to be in a cookie exchange, you probably want the 6 dozen. And I wanted to point out that this recipe came from my dear friend and neighbor of many, many years, Sherry Hawkins. And every year we make this recipe, but I only make it once a year. So I'm gonna have to keep the recipe on the counter to refer back to it. So I'll be right back after this. I brought my stand mixer off the counter over here so that we're closer to the action. Now, in this recipe, I don't normally use margarine for anything, but this recipe calls for margarine, so that's what I use in it. So I buy the once a year margarine purchase to make this recipe. So you can probably make it with other things too, but I'm just not risking it. And we need remember that this is the half measure. And I will put the recipe in the description box below so that you'll have the whole recipe, the one that makes 6 dozen. And then it's just kind of simple math to take it down lower than that. Whoops, I gotta turn this cup around. And there I am. 1.5. So in it's going to go, and this is a very sugar heavy dish. So if you're diabetic or watching your sugars, you should not make this unless you were going to give it away for gifts or something along that line. So while I'm mixing, I'm going to talk a little bit about a cookie exchange or a cookie swap. Now, this is a time when people can come together with their baked goods, and they usually do it at least a month before Christmas so that they can make sure that they have different kinds of treats for over the season. And each person involved really then only has to make one batch of cookies, about 48 cookies or 60 cookies, whichever the hostess or host wants. And they go to the party, and they might have some light refreshments, and their cookies are laid out, and people can go and choose the amount they brought. So if you brought 48 cookies, you're going to leave with 48 cookies, but there'll be a variety of cookies, which is pretty great. So we're going to mix this up, and then we'll talk some more. Now, the next 2 ingredients that go in are 2 eggs. If I can get them out of his shell this morning. So I'm going to drop the 2 eggs in. And next we need molasses, and we need a 1/2 cup of molasses. So I'm just going to give my measuring cup a quick spray, which will help me to get the molasses out of the cup. Now, I've left the molasses to come to room temperature. so that it would be easier to pour. So the first thing you need to do to organize a cookie exchange, if you're interested in doing that, is to pick a date, figure out how many people you can accommodate in your home where the exchange will take place. Send out invitations or email or call people and ask them to RSVP, because it helps with the planning process down the road if you get a straight up answer out of them. Let's dump in this molasses and get this mixed. You're going to have to stop once in a while and scrape down the bowl, which you would have to do with any cookie, or you should do with any cookie. These can definitely be mixed by hand. I've definitely, for years, I mixed them by hand before I got this stand mixer. Now that's mixed up thoroughly. We are going to need some flour, and this recipe divided in half takes 4 cups of flour, so it's a considerable amount for sure. I think one of the important things to consider when you're planning a cookie exchange or a swap is whether you're going to be a Puritan about it. And what I mean by that is, not all of your friends may be great bakers. So would it be okay with you if your friends bought pre-made items? Say they bought squares from the grocery store and they used them in the exchange. Because after all, the idea of gathering and getting everyone together before the holidays is really just about the fellowship, or the time that you spend together. And I myself would not mind if somebody showed up and they had pre-made things from the grocery store or packets of cookies. But I think it's important that everybody who is receiving an invitation is on the same page, because if everybody is expecting homemade goods, then they would be disappointed, perhaps they would be disappointed if not everything was homemade. So keep that in mind. I'm putting in 2 teaspoons of ginger to the 4 cups of flour. It's 222, so 2 teaspoons of cinnamon. That was a hefty one. The cookies that I'm making today work really well with cookie exchanges. But there are all kinds of cookies or squares that you can make to take to a cookie exchange. Now I'm adding 2 teaspoons of cloves. And then I'm going to add a half a teaspoon of salt. And we have the dry ingredients together. Make sure that you remind your guests that are coming to your cookie exchange that they should bring another container other than the one that they brought their cookies in, because you'll display their cookies on the tray that they brought them on, and then when they go to choose their cookies, they have nothing to put them in if they don't bring an extra container along. So they should do that. Set the time maybe for early afternoon, or whatever works best for you, but if you do it after lunch, then you're not feeling under so much obligation to provide a lunch, because they should have already had lunch. But you could definitely lay out some refreshments, like people could bring extra cookies or new recipes that they want to trial, or you could just put out some chips and dip. And for ideas about that, I've got a video, so go have a look at it. I'll try and remember to put it in the description box below. And you can just keep it light. It really should be about the fellowship, or the gathering, and the visiting, and the chatting. So I've got this ready. Now I need to combine this into the wet ingredients, the dry into the wet, and I'm going to just shake that in a bit at a time and allow it to incorporate. So it'll take me a minute or two. Okay, I've got this all mixed up now. It's quite a soft dough. I've also preheated my oven to 350 degrees. And depending on the size you want your cookies to be, you can use a dessert spoon, like a tablespoon from your cutlery drawer, or you could use a cookie scoop. I think my cookie scoop is a little too large for this particular batter. It's important that your margarine be really cool. So keep it in the refrigerator until you're ready to use it, because the cookies tend to flatten right out if the margarine is too hot. As with any cookie, you want to keep your oil product, whether that's butter or margarine or lard, you want to keep that quite cold. And if you start off with them cold, they hold their shape while they bake a lot better, and they won't go flat. Now, if you want to use this recipe to make the base of a square of some sort, then definitely let it sit out. Then you can put it in a parchment lined baking sheet, or whatever you're going to bake the rest of it in, and it will lay out nice and flat for you. So a little tip, hopefully that helps you. So now I'm just going to grab my sheet trays, and I will grab a spoon and we'll get to work putting these onto the tray. Now, more sugar goes into these cookies, believe it or not. I'm just shaking some into a small bowl like this. Maybe I should set one of these aside and do them one at a time so you can see what I'm up to. And I'm a right-hander, so I gotta go this way. Oh, I'm so right-handed I can't hardly scratch my nose with my left hand. Now I'm going to scoop these up into nice little balls, and I am not going to waste a lot of time on making them pretty because they level themselves out anyway. And I am going to drop them into the sugar, roll them around, and get them onto the baking tray as quickly as possible. When you're deciding about your party, themes are definitely a thing. You could do that, or you could just keep it really simple. Myself, I like to put out some tea and just some small treats, and just not spend our time scurrying around trying to refill dishes and bowls and things, but rather visiting with the people that are there. And some of the ladies who would come to a cookie exchange could be people you don't see at any other time of the year. Well, whoops. I made a mistake. I wonder how many of you have done something similar. I forgot to add the baking soda, and I didn't realize it until I took the first batch of cookies out of the oven, and they looked like little humps, not like a cookie. So, and then I wondered why and realized I'd forgotten the baking soda. So I needed to add baking soda. So for this recipe, you will need 2 teaspoons of baking soda. So I hope you don't cook along with me. Pay attention to the recipe in the description box below. So now I am going to go ahead. I'm going to give this a bit of a stir to make sure that nothing is separated or giving me any issues while I was away. And I'm just going to go back to rolling cookies now that I've added the baking soda to them, and adding them to the tray. I was talking about workplace cookie exchanges, which you could definitely do with the folks that you work with. Just need to figure out how many people want to take part, and bring all your cookies to work, and during your lunch hour you could do your cookie exchange. Everybody brings their own brown bag lunch for that particular cookie exchange, and there you are, set. So you don't have to leave that out. One of our local churches here in town does a cookie walk, where you come in, and I think it costs you $10 to do your cookie walk, and they hand you a cookie bin on the way in, and you go around the tables and you fill your cookie tin, and then you sit and have tea and a treat, and then you're on your way with your filled up cookie tin. It's a wonderful way to spend an hour and a half or 2 hours on a Sunday afternoon or Saturday afternoon. And so there's lots of different ways that you can pull off a cookie exchange. I'm just going to finish rolling up these balls and get this pan in the oven. And when they're done, I'll be back to show you the finished results. Here they are, fresh out of the oven. And they turned out beautifully. They're all crinkly on the top and covered with sugar and ready to go into gift bags or onto platters for serving. And I hope that you've learned something from today's video, and that you have enjoyed this journey with me today. I look forward to talking with you again soon and bringing you another new recipe or idea that may help you in your kitchen or around your home. So take care, everybody. I will see you on the next one. Bye-bye.